Hey folks, I'm Peck Tech and I'm here to talk to you about the game Townsfolk Tussle. Now, Townsfolk Tussle is a Kickstarter that I backed in 2020. I guess it was November 2020 when it closed. Yeah, November 19th, 2020, and it made $436,000. I think this is the first game by Panic Roll Studios. I could be wrong. This game immediately caught my eye because it's got that Cuphead aesthetic, which is what people say, but it's basically it mimics the 1930s style cartoons. Kind of think Steamboat Willie, or maybe a little bit after that. It takes that animation style and it applies it to all the characters in this game, and it comes out it comes out really well. It's a really pleasing aesthetic to look at. One thing that makes it sort of creepy and fun is that although it has that cartoon aesthetic, it definitely has a twisted side. Like, this is not a game for kids, or little kids especially. If you have small children or something like that, this is probably not going to be appropriate for them, especially if they're sensitive to violence, because there's a lot of violence in this. So Townsfolk Tussle is a boss battling game, and you're going to face off against 4 bosses. Those bosses are randomly chosen, and there's actually quite a few here in the box, so there's a lot to go through. But you'll go through sessions of buying equipment, battling a boss, getting more equipment, battling a boss, get more equipment, and then figure out who the sheriff is, get some special equipment, and a special scenario for the end. Each of these bosses, they kind of level up. Like, the first one has no special rules. The second one makes them a little bit more difficult. The next one makes them a little bit more difficult. And the last one will have a flip side to their board with a whole different scenario and a special final fight scenario with that boss. And much like Solomon Kane, the outcome of that battle is a different section of the rule book that you go and read, and there'll be little things that you can maybe unlock for future games. In many ways, this uses mechanisms that you've probably seen quite a few times. It uses drafting to go look for equipment. It has player stats that start off kind of asymmetric with special powers. Those stats can increase and decrease depending on what equipment you have. Objectives are a huge part of the game. You get 3 at the beginning of each scenario, and then you can toss ones that you can't do. But the more of those you achieve, that kind of unlocks certain things, from how the boss reacts to you, to special equipment that you get, or there's a number of different things that interact with the objectives. So they're a full part of the game, not just like extra points that you get. This is a cooperative game, but there's a little bit of competition in that only one person gets to be the sheriff at the end, which is just the person that you want to avoid getting killed. They also get some special gear and stuff, but sometimes it's useful and sometimes it isn't. I painted all the characters for this game, and I painted it way before I ever played it. I got the game, I immediately started painting the characters. They're just too interesting, and different not to throw some paint on them, in my opinion. They were quite challenging. They have a lot of, instead of a lot of detail, they have these long planes, and that can be kind of challenging to paint, but I had a really good time doing it. It took, I'd say it took longer to paint this set than it did to paint, like, Nemesis, for instance, the first Nemesis that I got. But I was pretty happy with the way it came out, and I love seeing them on the board fully painted. It makes a huge difference to me. This game has a really large variety of characters, especially when you consider all the different bosses that you could potentially fight, and all the different heroes for that matter. There's quite a few of those. I've not played it at 5 players. I've played it at I played it at 3 players, and I played it at 2 players, each of us controlling 2 people. It is quite challenging to play. Don't let the cartoonishness of it fool you. It's a pretty challenging match, even co-op. I found it was best to play with 2 characters each to really have enough people there to do a lot of damage to the bosses and kind of progress through the maps. It is super easy that, much like a video game, if you really flub up against a boss, there is dice rolling involved in the to hits, and anytime you would go to damage or interact with something. So dice are not always your friend. You can get kind of a bad rap with those. And people that don't like that in games should know that there's a bit of rolling in here. You're not rolling handfuls of dice either. It's one dice. So it can be really painful to kind of like, oops, and not get what you wanted. But that's life, right? Yeah, but playing with just 2 characters on these bosses seemed pretty hard to me. Those were early games, so maybe I just wasn't as good at it as I am perhaps now. But I liked it a lot better playing with 4 characters. The other thing to note that this box says that it's 40 minutes per character that you add. And we found it to actually be closer to maybe 60 minutes per character. So normally I'd have more playthroughs of a game before I really sat down to talk about it. But so normally I probably have more playthroughs with it. But honestly, I spent about 15 hours with this game, and I feel like I've got an opinion on it. So how does it play? I'd say it plays really well. It's pretty easy to teach. It has quite a few rules, but it's pretty easy to teach and figure out. And it's got player aids that really help. I think that helps a lot. The way it's organized is really intuitive with the cards and the way it's all set up. They went the extra mile for components and game trays and stuff too. All of the components and the little PC parts for this game are all really nice quality. Even the cardboard versions of it I feel like they're pretty decent quality. So I haven't tried it yet, but I think a little house rule that I might do for next time is just to do 3 bosses. I'm not sure you'll be able to accumulate enough gear and stuff, but I don't know. Maybe it'll just make it a little bit more challenging too. But it easily would cut maybe an hour off the game just to do 3 bosses instead of 4. So we've had a lot of fun playing this game, and it would be a little bit easier to get it on the table perhaps if it were shorter. But when it is on the table and we're having a great time. And I think it's a lot of fun. The folks at Panic Roll really knocked it out of the park with this. I think if there was anything I would add to it, and maybe just make it a little bit shorter, just a little bit. I'm all down for a really long game session, but I have trouble finding other people that are. If you love this aesthetic and you don't have a ton of boss battling games, this is definitely one to consider. It's very humorous. The cards and the scenarios and stuff, if you actually read the things it says are happening, are really funny. So Panic Roll Studios really has a great sense of humor, and it comes through in this game. I gotta say, try as I might, I can't get the box to go flush, and I don't know why that bothers me. But I want to say too that I really appreciate that they went the extra mile to get the game trays. These seem to do really well, and these are great if you've painted your miniatures and you want them to stay really safe. There's nothing in here that grabs the bases that will rub it off. They just kind of fit into these slots. Something else they put in the box is this box here. This is a box within a box, but this holds all the cards in the game, and it's got little call-outs, little index things, so you can go through here and see what you need. I did take the insert out of here and then sleeved it. If you take the insert out, all the sleeved cards fit. Unfortunately, they don't fit with the insert that was there. But to tell you the truth, the insert in here was much weaker. Like, it didn't work right even without the cards being sleeved. So I didn't miss it much taking it out. Now, I don't have every card sleeved in here, just like anything I might shuffle a lot. But all the rest goes in there. It just fits nicely in the box, so it's easy to pull out. You're going to need that whole box or different components for most of that box throughout the game. It's got another tray too that's got all the coins and stuff that are in the game, so you just pop the lid off that and you're ready to go. I love being able to pull the components of the game out of the box just very easily and then set them up to play. Another thing to consider with this game is that it's quite sprawling. So the back of the box seems pretty reasonable, but in reality it looks something more like this. So that's a 4x4 foot table. We've got most of the box out and on the table, but not everything. And there's a lot. There's a lot there. So if you're playing this on your kitchen table, it's gonna be the whole kitchen table, all of it. And that's Townsfolk Tussle. Probably not my absolute favorite game that I've ever gotten from Kickstarter, but still a very, very solid one. I had a lot of fun painting it. I love the artwork and the components, and I like playing it when I have the time to do it. That's all I got for you now. Enjoy your games, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.